applicants just very quickly. One, will you be using lithium carbonate as part of the battery production process? Will you be using iron phosphate as part of the battery production process? Will you be using synthetic graphite as part of the battery production process? Will you be using synthetic graphite as part of the production process?
Synthetic graphite is one of the raw materials that goes into the battery, so yes.
Okay. Will you be using hydrofluoric acid as part of your production process?
No.
Will you be using NMP as part of your production process?
That I'm not sure yet. We don't know that yet.
Everyone, please. I understand we have a lot of comments, but to make sure we use our time effectively. You said at this point in time you do not know if you will be using NMP.
Correct.
Will you be using SBR?
SBR, no.
Okay. Planning Commission, I am here to speak on behalf of the concerned citizens specifically about your village code, which at this point does not allow you to approve this proposed zoning. Specifically, under your village code, there are two uses. There is I-1 and I-2. However, your village code is very, very clear that any expressly prohibited use cannot be approved as part of zoning. Specifically, if you look at section 9-9A-7 of your code, that very specifically says that you cannot, expressly prohibited use involves any use that creates any external odor, smoke, dust, noise, or glare, or that involves the use of any radioactive or highly toxic materials, as determined by the Code Enforcement Officer. So it is not whether there is a risk of external use, it is if it is using highly toxic materials at all. Under 9-9A-7, you cannot have that zoning use. So I want to be very clear here. Synthetic graphite is a highly toxic material. It is not water soluble. So the fine graphite powders suspend in natural bodies of water, and that is harmful to organisms. It can also embed in the natural soil bed of any body of water. There was a presentation about how this was going to be a self-contained water system. I would draw this commission's attention to the fact that there is a quarry bordering the property that uses dynamite explosives to extract materials. I've heard nothing about how the plant is going to be built to ensure that any supposedly self-contained system would not be affected by active dynamiting feed from the property. But regardless, the fact that they are using synthetic graphite at all means they are using highly toxic materials. And at a minimum, this commission cannot approve the use of any zoning that would use a highly toxic material at a minimum until the Illinois EPA has confirmed that synthetic graphite is not highly toxic, which it will not do, or until Gotion has confirmed that it will not use it. Second, NMP, the EPA has specifically advised that NMP causes birth defects, cancer, and toxicity to the immune system in the liver. Okay? Gotion cannot confirm at this point in time whether they will be using NMP. Unless and until they can, this planning commission cannot approve the use of an I-2 zoning for that because NMP is a highly toxic material. Anything that causes birth defects, cancer, and toxicity to the immune system and liver categorically is a highly toxic material. Finally, SBR, which they do not know if they're going to be using or not. I believe, did I say that correct? You're not sure if you're using SBR? You're not using it at all. Okay. Well, regardless, NMP and synthetic graphite in and of themselves are highly toxic. Further, lithium in and of itself is highly toxic as well, even if you're using it in the format that they're using it in. The other thing I would like clarification on, they said they're using F500 fire extinguishers. F500, to the best of my knowledge, does not use PFAS, but there are other chemicals that the fire extinguisher uses, so this commission needs to confirm that nothing in those fire extinguishers has highly toxic chemicals. Further, lithium iron phosphate, it says specifically should not be punctured, can cause chemical burns, can cause toxic fumes, and has a risk of thermal runaway. That means, especially if we're going to have a quarry blasting dynamite next to the firm, the risk of any puncturing, despite what that video showed, puncturing can still lead to the fires. And those fires release highly toxic flammable gas, even if that would, just to be self-contained within the facility itself, would be highly toxic. They claim that there is a closed-loop system. Even if that is the case, if that water does leak and get into any watersheds, any rivers, any creeks, that would not only kill the animals because it is a known carcinogen, it would cause severe human biological effects, especially to the hundreds of people who live in the residential communities near streets from the Gotion plant. Finally, one issue I'd like to flag is they said that there's going to be 2,600 jobs in the Gotion plant for Marshall, Michigan, for Green Charter Township, Michigan. The projected number of jobs that they said from the very beginning has decreased month on month. And the estimated average salary has decreased month on month. You can look at the Michigan Economic Development Council's own reports for that. That is well documented. The promises that Gotion made about jobs, which I did not hear any promises about them being union jobs, to be clear. But regardless, if the actual jobs that are supposed to be created for the exact same kind of plant in Michigan have decreased month on month, it is well known in any sort of zoning decision that is to be made by a zoning planning commission that the actual economic effect of the change needs to be considered. And so Gotion, whatever job numbers Gotion is presenting, need to be compared against the actual Michigan numbers, which have reduced month to month to month. Finally, to the extent it's permitted, I would like to introduce into the record a November 6, 2023 letter that was sent to Chairman Francis Smith of the Planning Commission from my law firm Eckland Blando detailing these concerns. One thing I will note is in that letter we stated that they were going to be using hydrofluoric acid and iron phosphate. To the extent that Gotion is now affirming today on the record that they are not, that part of the letter can be dismissed. With that, I would encourage you to follow your city charter, to not approve any use of highly toxic material. At a minimum, wait until the Illinois EPA process has finished to confirm that none of those materials are going to be highly toxic. And because you have a duty to follow your city code, and failure to follow the city code is a per se procedural violation and substantive violation of the zoning rules, choosing to rezone to a use that would stated as by Gotion use a highly toxic material is a per se violation of law and exposes the Planning Commission, the Village of Manteno to legal risk that is unnecessary to take at this time. Thank you.